Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 55 Live podcast here in conjunction with the WZWA Network. I am your host with the most, your party host here tonight, California in Fury. And unfortunately, my co-host, Mr. 55 Live, Jack Wallace, is not here tonight. So I'm going to be running this show solo, but it doesn't matter. I'm not scared. I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I'm ready. Because you know what? I'm talking to a legend here tonight. I'm talking to former ECW, WWF superstar, and a member of the BWO. I'm talking about the one and the only, the Blue Meanie. How you going tonight, Meanie?
Hey, man, how much should I pay for that intro? Man, that was nice. That was very cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, man. I know it's late where you are. Basically, we're in the upside down world. It's like 10 a.m.-ish here, 10 p.m. there, something like that. But thanks for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit more intimate, just me and you. So
yeah, sounds good, man. You know, I've done a few of them now. I've had a chat to Lodi and Lenny Lane and a few others by myself. So you know what, Jack, I'm sorry, but I can handle it without you, my friend. Meanie, again, really pleased to have you here tonight. The first question, as I usually ask on the podcast, is how did you become a wrestling fan?
It was quite by accident. I was 8 years old, living in a town called Gloucester City, New Jersey, which is like literally across the bridge from Philadelphia. They could look at each other and swear at each other from across the river.
Right.
And there was a Saturday, and I was like, I was going to watch the local baseball team here, the Philadelphia Phillies. I went over to my neighbor's house. I was like, my buddy Sean, I was like, yo, Sean, you want to come over and watch the Phillies game? He's like, I can't. I'm watching wrestling. I was, what's wrestling? So I went over his house and watched wrestling, and the rest is history. That's the wrestling bug bit me. I don't remember the entire show, but I do remember Rick Martel and Tony Garea losing the WWF tag belts to Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito.
Wow.
Oh my God, this is amazing. And watched every Saturday. Then I got into the magazines, and then as I got older, I got into the newsletters, and then I got into the business.
Right. I mean, for me, when I first watching wrestling, Survivor Series 1998 was on free to air television here in Australia for some stupid reason. I have no idea why, but it was like I was sitting there by myself at my dad's house. I don't even know if he was home. I think I was just sitting there by myself, and it was on television, and it took that whole show, and I already figured out who everyone was, what everyone was about, and it just blew my fucking mind. I knew my friends were fans of wrestling, but after that, I was sold. Like, I was already hooked. So is that the same for you? You see one show, and then all of a sudden you're hooked?
That was it. I mean, I was at that age where I was very encourageable. I really had no set thing I was hooked on. You know, maybe for Halloween, I think I was Paul Stanley for Kiss one year before that. Awesome. And I was like, I would listen to the radio. I'd go down to the park, play on the swings or the slides or whatever. But other than that, I really had nothing there was nothing that was my vice.
Right.
And then once I saw wrestling, I just like, that's it. And then, along the way, you get the family that gives you shit for liking wrestling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things is I grew up WWE fan because Philly, Jersey area, heavy WWE, and there was a interview segment at the time. Buddy Rogers did an interview segment called Rogers Corner, and I'm watching wrestling. My grandfather walks in and goes, I know him. I was like, oh, bullshit. You don't know him. Right. He's like, yeah. My grandfather told me, my grandfather used to work in Camden, New Jersey. It was like a heavy, like shipping area. There's docks and boats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I would work in Camden at this. I would go to this bar in Camden after work, and Buddy Rogers was working the door, or he was like the door guy, or whatever. Buddy Rogers was also a Camden City police officer. That's where he's from, and also.
Right.
So flash forward maybe a couple of years later, 85, AWA comes to Atlantic City, and I see Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. He's doing play-by-play. He's signing autographs. I go, hey, Mr. Rogers, do you know Jim Reardon? He goes, Jim Reardon. He goes, that name? Yeah, I know that name. I go, he's right over there. And they just started talking like they hadn't missed a beat. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Grandpa was in line.
Grandpa was telling the truth.
Yeah, man.
That's cool,
Absolutely.
man. So like, after you became a wrestling fan, how old were you when this happened?
Roughly, I want to say 8 years old. I was born in 73. So at 182, I would have been 9, something like that. Yeah, but very young, very early age.
So there's like a little bit of an obsession with wrestling for you as you're growing up into being a teenager. You're still a fan through those years.
Oh yeah, I mean, it never left me.
Never left you.
You
Cool.
always hear people go, "Oh, I watched it for a little bit, then I went away, and then the Attitude Era came along, and blah blah blah
And
blah."
then blah 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 blah.
It never left me. It never left me. Even through the good years, through the bad years. I was a fan, and then Hulkamania hit, which was
Boom. Huge.
pretty cool. I got in like maybe a year or two before Hulkamania. And when I started watching WWF, Hulk Hogan wasn't in the company at the time, but I read the magazines, and there would be like those national shows here in America called like PM Magazine. It was like a tabloid type show, and they did a feature on Hulk Hogan in the AWA. I was like, oh man, who's this
Right.
guy? And then you see Rocky 3,
And then
and
there you
then
go.
he comes back. He comes back to the WWE, and I'm already smartened up to who he is. And I was like, it was like Christmas morning, as a kid. It's like, oh my, there's this guy I've seen in the magazines. Oh my God, this is awesome.
Totally popping for him. That's great.
Oh, absolutely. I still pop. I might be inside the ring, but I'm still a fan at heart. To
Man,
this day.
I get what you mean. Like, when I was a fan, that was during the dying days of the wrestling magazines being in the news agencies here in Australia. So I got to at least experience that tape trading magazine still in the stores type thing just at the end of it when it was about to die. So I know what you mean, at least on some level. But what was high school like for you?
Interesting. Grade school was good, but it was those years were like kind of rough because I grew up severe asthmatic, and every spring and every fall I would wind up in the hospital because my asthma was
Yeah.
allergy triggered. So like the pollen count and the pollen in the air, change of seasons and plants and all that stuff, or at least pollen, it would trigger my asthma. So I'd spend like 2 weeks at a time in the hospital,
Shit.
every spring, every fall. But then I found a really good my folks, I didn't find them, I was a kid. My folks found a really good doctor who got me properly diagnosed, and my lungs started getting a little bit better, and my asthma got a little bit better. So by the time I got to high school, I was pretty good. I tried out for the American football team, and I couldn't play football because I was allergic to the grass. I was allergic to the field, so that sucked. And then my sophomore year, I was going to go out for the wrestling team, and they got rid of it. They're like, "Nah, Brian, you're good." No, I was like, I was going to try it because I always thought, the best route to becoming a professional wrestler was to learn amateur wrestling. And, my high school got rid of it, sold off all the equipment. We're like, we really don't want Brian wrestling. So, nah, I'm just playing. But, no, high school was pretty cool, man. I grew up in Atlantic City. It's very diverse. So I'm listening to everything from rock and roll to hip hop and stuff like that, and so I made great friends who I still have friends to this day. I was the wrestling guy in high school. I started like in my freshman year. I had a friend named Justin who introduced me to the world of newsletters and the inside dirt sheets and stuff like that. So I'd be in high school and everybody would be talking about like wrestling, and I would have like the scoop. I was like,
All right.
next week on TV, you're going to see this, that, and the other thing. And this is before the internet, where everybody knew the spoilers. So I'm
Yeah.
going, next week on Superstars. They're like, how the fuck do you know this? It's like I had I was like an inside trader on the stock market or something, but I was the
Right.
wrestling guy. So like when at the end of high school, everybody signed in my yearbook. They're like, good luck in the WWE. Because I was just so obsessed. I got my 8th grade yearbook when I went to Catholic school. Everybody's like, future WWE, good luck in wrestling. My high school yearbook, my teacher signed, my one of my tech ed teachers signed, good luck in WWE and all that good stuff. Because I was just so I didn't know what else to talk about.
Right.
Wrestling was all I knew.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, I guess like through high school and all that, all those years, you were thinking one day I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be in the business. It was that adamant.
It's one of those things. I truly believe if you can envision yourself doing it and you think about it and almost say fantasize about it long enough, you can do it. I truly believe that. I would always fantasize about me being a wrestler. I was always fantasize about scenarios. I was always practicing wrestling promos in the bathroom in the mirror, which my grandma thought I was just talking to myself and thought she was going to put me in therapy. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, my grandma was like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" And can I swear on here? I forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
My grandma was like, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm just don't." She doesn't. My grandma doesn't know what wrestling promos are.
No, definitely not.
So then I got a video camera and recorded myself, and she thought I was a little less crazy. But
Right.
that was it, man. I wanted to do it, and I believed I could do it, but everybody else, knowing how I grew up and how limited I was at sports and all that stuff, they're like, that's cute. That's a good dream. But
Yeah.
day after WrestleMania 10, I packed up my car and drove to Ohio. They're like, I guess he's serious.
Wow, cool, man. Like you just fucking threw all your eggs in a basket and you just, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
I
I was
took a huge
serious about
risk.
it the whole time.
Yeah, I took a huge risk. Right out of high school, I got a job here in the casinos, just doing security, and I was making good money. And I had benefits, everything. And then I worked there when I was working in the casinos. Every week I would put 50% of my check away towards wrestling, 50% towards the house. My
Right.
grandparents, so they could pay the bills and all that stuff. And I did that long enough to where I had enough for wrestling tuition. So I sent away my money towards so my tuition's paid. So I started putting 50% of my check away for living expenses. I got to move sometime. I'm going to need rent, food, all this stuff. I had that vision, put that money away, still paying 50% to my grandparents. And
Yeah.
I live with my grandparents and my mom. My mom was a single mom, so my grandparents are like, yeah, we'll help out. But I would 50 towards me, 50 to them. And then there was one night me and my mom, I worked at Trump Plaza Casino. My mom worked at Trump Taj Mahal. And there's this thing in Atlantic City called the Jitney. It's just a short little bus that goes up and down the one street, and you can hit whatever casinos or whatever. So we're walking to the Jitney to go to work, and we come to a red light, and we're waiting for the light to turn across the street. We're waiting to cross the street. I go, tonight I'm going to go in and I'm going to give my 2 weeks notice. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I saved my money. It's either shit or get off the pot. So
Right.
it's enough talking about, let me do this. And I always believe timing is everything. Something told me to, give my 2 weeks notice and drive to Ohio in 2 weeks and to start. And with that, like if I had started any other time, I might have missed out this whole different time. I might have had a totally different timeline. Who knows? But something told me, yeah, go quit your job.
Right. And and
Yeah,
and and you are trained under Al Snow, is that correct?
absolutely. Yeah, Al was the best, man. He
We
great
interviewed
human
him
being.
like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. You're now the third member of the job squad that we've had the chance to interview. Uh,
Tremendous.
we want to tick off everyone from the Job Squad. But like we interviewed Bob, we interviewed Al. You know, what was it like training with Al at that time? Because I guarantee, knowing Al and the way that he is with wrestling now, he would be like, if I could teach back then what I know now, he feels like he learned a lot of his lessons once he stopped being a weekly performer on television, and I found that really interesting. So what was it like at that time with Al?
Al was great. He was very thorough. I mean, like he would teach me lesson A, and if I didn't complete lesson A, I didn't go into lesson B. You know, unless there were, some people go, oh, okay, that's good enough. Go into the next. No, if you don't do that right, you can't move on.
Yeah.
I remember my first day of training, just learning bumps and stuff like that, and I kept making the mistake of, your feet are supposed to land flat. So I kept landing with my heels. Boom. I'm getting like shin splints in my hand. I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. And there's one particular moment I took a bump, the forward bump. I bumped, rolled out of the ring, and just walked out of the room and went and sat on the chair in the commons area, like the living room we had there.
Yeah.
He came in, he sat next to me. He's like, all right, what's wrong? I was like, I can't get this. Blah, 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 blah. He's like, and Al was my big brother. I never had a brother. I grew up, it was me, my mom, my sister, and my grandparents. And I never really had a brother.
Right. Yeah.
Not
I know.
that,
I know how you feel.
let me tell you something, brother. It wasn't like that, but he was, Al and his family took me in as like one of their own. I
Wow.
lived in the actual school. I was the only person who lived there. There was like
Really?
the school was in this old Masonic temple. It was like we had I want to say the 6th and 7th floor, but it could have been the 5th and 6th. It's been a long time. And like there was like living quarter. There was like the main auditorium, where the ring was, but it looked like the Manhattan Center from the old Raw era.
Yeah.
He would have shows there, but like if you went up the elevator to the school, you make a right, there's the living room, then there's the kitchen. If you made a left, there's a hallway, there's Al's office, and then it wraps around to, living quarters, and then there's living quarters up in the balconies and stuff like that. So I was living there. I mean, guys would come and go from like Canada, Detroit, Ohio, Kentucky, wherever, Indiana, but I was like the only permanent fixture there. So
Right.
I would have do two-a-days, kind of like American football, where in the morning he would have his morning sessions from like 9 a.m. to noon, and then he would take a break from noon to 7, come back to 7 and do like 7 to 11 or whenever. If something was going good and we wanted to keep it going, he stayed the extra hours. But I was doing two-a-days. It was me, and sometimes it was just me and Al. And then sometimes it was me and 8 other guys from, around the, that area, the surrounding states.
Yeah.
So I got to have one-on-one time with Al, and then I got to work with all different types of people, big guys, short guys, whoever. And
Were you
I
a
was,
big boy back then?
oh yeah. I was always big, mostly due to my asthma. I was very inactive, I couldn't play in the other kids' reindeer games. So while they're out at recess, as kids, you would have lunch and then recess.
Yeah.
I had to have lunch, and my grandfather would come over to the school with my nebulizer machine for my asthma. I would have to, take my medicine orally and breathe in this mist. So kids are coming in from recess, and I'm sitting in the cafeteria with this machine, and my grandfather, I'm just sitting there like, and the machine's so loud. It's like, they're looking at me like,
Wow.
kids aren't used to seeing stuff like that. They're like, is Brian okay? Is he die? Is Brian going to die?
Did you ever get picked on because of it?
Of course.
We interviewed MonetMaaate last week, and he's very into anti-bullying.
Yeah.
So like you got picked on, and how did you deal with that?
I I just dealt with it, and then there's times where I would lash out at the bullies too. So, you know,
That's a bully's worst nightmare, is when they fight back.
yeah, because I try not to rock the boat. I'm good at no selling people. So, like, if you say something shitty to me, well, that's the worst thing. A
Yeah,
bull, a bull. If you sell for a bully, that's like giving blood to a vampire.
absolutely.
They want that reaction so they can get off and feed off and do it again.
Yeah,
But if you don't give them that reaction, they're powerless. So
absolutely.
there's time there. I would just totally no sell them. But like, there was a time in 8th grade where here's a story. 8th grade. Well, I went to Catholic school from 3rd to 7th, and then that school closed down. That was St. Michael's. So we went to the rival Catholic school a couple blocks down, Our Lady Star to See. So we were the outsiders, like WCW coming in WWE. We were the outsiders coming in,
Okay.
So they were giving us shit, and some people assimilate it quicker. But there was one dude there that's kept breaking my balls. There's me and another kid. Just kept, breaking our balls. I would no sell. So maybe around October. School starts in September, October, late October, almost November. We're going on a class trip, and the class trip is to like this Catholic high school, big whoop, right? So we're sitting there waiting to load on the bus, to go to the school, and I'm sitting in my desk. There's the aisleway, and then his desk. This kid, I don't even want to put him over, but not like anybody knows him anyway. But this kid Spiro, that's his name. He's like, oh, look at Brian, big fat Brian. He's got a big nose, blah, 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 all this shit, right? And I'm like, man, he knows I can hear him, right? I'm thinking in my head, he knows I can hear him, right?
Right.
And at the time, my hand was in the cast because I broke my hand playing football. Like, I know I tried out for a football team. I was allergic to grass, but I played with the friends here and there when I could.
Yeah.
And I broke my hand on somebody's head, like spinning around trying to make a tackle. So I had my hand in a cast. I just snapped. I got out of my chair and I fucking just dove on him and just
Really? Wow.
I started patting on him, right? And I stand up. I'm like in a fit of rage. I'm like, and the nun, Sister Christine, goes, Brian. I was like, and I just went, he's been doing this, blah, 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 blah. And the other thing, I was like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
She goes, go to the principal. So I go down to the principal's office, and the principal was this hard ass old nun named Sister Seamus. And me and Spiro had to go down there. And she's like, Brian, explain yourself. And I told her everything. I was like, hey, this, that, and the other thing. We come over from the other school. He's been saying this, that, and the other thing. And she looks to Spiro and goes, is this true? And he goes, yeah. She goes, and she looks at him and goes, well, you deserved it. And that was the best thing ever,
What a victory.
I stood up to the bully, and the Catholic nun took my side. So,
Fantastic, man. You're right about no selling a bully. That's the best defense. But like I had a moment when it was in high school and I confronted a bully, because this is how stupid and petty a bully can be, right?
Right.
I was a Chicago Bulls fan. I had a hat that said Michael Jordan 23.
Right.
And he would say, oh, Michael Jackson, oh, you're a pedophile. He managed to try and find a way to twist it so that it was about me liking little kids, right?
Right.
And one time at lunchtime, he said it for the last time, and he was sitting down on a bench, and I just stood up to him. He's sitting down. I stood up to him, and I said, say it again. Say it again. I dare you to say it again. And he just kept shaking his head. No. And then he stopped bullying me after that.
Yeah, you just got to stand up to him, really. And
exactly.
Then that's it.
And I tried to no sell him as long as I could, but it got to a point where it's like, man, fuck you. I'm gonna get in your face and you're gonna do nothing about it. And hopefully we didn't throw fists because I didn't even know how to fight. But
Well, have you ever seen the Christmas Story where Ralphie just finally flips and beats up the fucking
yeah,
bully?
yeah.
It's like that. Once you snap, you fucking snap. You don't even see things. You just see white. It's
Yeah,
like a white, and then you come to and you're just like, it's just like a Christmas Story. You kind of start crying because you finally got that rage out, you know. And you're like,
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. All that pent up shit, it's finally out of your system. Anyway, back to the timeline of questions. This is now
Sure.
only my fourth question, but uh so you,
You have
you
a
enjoy your
schedule.
time training under Al. You're a big
Absolutely.
boy and you're still going at it, you're still going hard. Once you get into the business, you were noticed by Raven and Stevie Richards. How were you noticed by those two?
There was when I left Al's school, one day we're at in Al's gym and we train. He's like, I've been getting you these bookings, which was true. He's getting me bookings all over the place. And mostly shows that like he was running or Dan Severn was running or somebody called him saying, hey, I need guys. And he would send us and he goes, I've been getting all of these bookings, which is great. But in order to be a true professional in the world of professional wrestling, you have to go out there and hustle yourself.
Yeah,
He wasn't saying, go get your own bookings, kid. No, he was just like very very brotherly, very, very fatherly, giving me sage advice,
of course.
saying, go off and I didn't get a diploma for wrestling school. He just went, you're free to go. And so
Right.
I moved from Ohio back to Jersey, living with my grandma at the time. My grandfather passed, but I was still getting the newsletters, still doing this and that other thing, and I started noticing like Meltzer's newsletter would have like a personals section where like guys were either looking for like Japanese wrestling tapes or wrestling schools were having tryouts or so I would send all these handwritten letters, resumes, if you will, to wrestling schools in like West Virginia, Maryland, all over the place. And I was still showing up I started showing up to shows. I was like, always show up to a show, but keep your gear in the car.
Just in
But once you get
case.
to the building, introduce yourself to everyone from the promoter to the person tearing tickets.
You never know.
And yeah, you never know. But the approach is always, hey, I'm Brian. Understand you have a full car tonight, but if there's an opportunity, I have my stuff out in the car.
Smart.
And I got on so many shows just doing that. There's a promoter, a former NWA promoter here in New Jersey, Dennis Corluzzo.
Oh,
Well, I
legend.
wound up. I'm sorry.
We all know him. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's amazing. I still talk to his son every day, but I was like, and I would just show up to his shows, give him that spiel. And he'd be like, hey, Brian, so and so stuck in traffic. Go get your stuff. You're working third.
Awesome.
Okay. And I would get skill and shows that way. And but back to your original question, how I got noticed by Stevie, like I've shown up to shows. So I went to a show in there were three series of shows, Baltimore, West Virginia, I forgot the name of the town, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I did a show in Baltimore. Raven, Stevie were there. Became acquainted. We did a show in West Virginia in a horse barn of all places. And I got to talk to Stevie a little bit more there. He's like, hey man, you're from Philly? Yeah, all this, that, and the other thing. So at the time we had moved to Philly by then. There's a period of time between the West Virginia show and the Pittsburgh show. We moved to Philly and my car had just died. And I was like, fuck. So I'm waiting to, get my car fixed. I had nothing to do that week. And I have a friend who runs shows in Pittsburgh, Norm Connors. I was like, hey man, I did the spiel over the phone. I went, hey man, I know you got a full card this weekend. He had like 2 shows.
Right.
But hey, I'm just going to come out and hang out. I got nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to come hang out. It's like, all right. So I took a Greyhound bus 6 hours from Philly to Pittsburgh. And he threw me a bone. He put me on the first night show.
Wow.
Cool. So that night, I wrestled a local wrestler named TC Reynolds. But TC Reynolds is that local veteran that every indie promotion or territory has, where
Right.
he'll wrestle as himself and then he'll wrestle as Doink, as
Right.
or he'll wrestle whatever. Well, this night TC Reynolds was wrestling as Batman. So, and the funny thing is, I had this chin hair, except for now I got the side straps here, but I just had this, and I had this sort of same kind of crew cut, and everybody's like, "Man, you look like King Tut from Batman." No, with this look. So
Right.
here I am wrestling Batman, looking like King Tut. So I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." So Al also told me, after your match, go get changed or go grab a chair. Go get changed, grab a chair, or just grab a chair and watch the rest of the show. Watch the other matches. Still learn. You learn what to do and sometimes learn what not to do, you know? So after my match with Batman, I went and watched the rest of the show. And Raven was wrestling the guy I trained with named Ray the Crippler Roberts, who is an interesting character. He was fresh out of prison. We'd be driving to, he was so hardcore out of prison that, like, if you said, hey man, just drive straight down there, he goes, hey man, I never go straight, I always go forward, because in prison going straight means you're going legit, on the side of the cops. So I'm never go straight, I always go forward. So I was like, this is going to be an interesting match, Raven against fucking Ray. I was like, I got to watch this. And it's just like a really cool brawl. So I'm watching from a point where, like, when she come back to the locker room, there's a hallway. Raven passed me. I go, hey, Raven, good match. He goes, hey, nice moonsault. I went, oh, he watched my match.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that night we just hung out at the promoter's house. As the promoter, we decided to save Norm a couple bucks. So instead of getting us a hotel, we all crashed on his couch, his floors, whatever. Next day we went out for lunch and he's like, hey, they had an idea for a lackey for Stevie.
Right.
And the guy that had in mind made me look like, Sky Low. But the guy couldn't wrestle and, he couldn't bump. He couldn't do anything. He was like, he wasn't trained.
Right.
But they're like, hey, we have an idea for this lackey to, Stevie's my lackey. We want to have a lackey to a lackey.
It's brilliant.
You're big. You can do a moonsault. Would you want to do it? I was like, absolutely. I was like, will I be in ECW? He goes, yes. I go, I'm in. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, cool. You have to wear a hip shirt and Daisy Dukes. I'll still be in ECW, right? Yes. Okay, I'm in. So that was it. It was like 3 shows. We just kept running into each other. They watched my match. I don't know if they watched the other matches, but that night they watched that match. And that got me noticed for ECW.
Right. That's amazing. Like, you're doing this, and all of a sudden, like, you get the opportunity to go to ECW at this point in time. It's like so crazy for someone to go through that situation. And I really love hearing that. Thank you for being so candid and tell me how it all came about.
Yeah,
So
it's a matter of creating opportunities.
and it's Raven. Raven is, like, from what I've seen, I've never spoke to the guy, but he is the guy that creates characters and ideas, and he's done it for so many people. Like, when I interviewed Lodi, he told me about all about how he brought that up to Terry Taylor and got that involved in WCW. But so
he's good, including everybody.
you get noticed by Raven. They say to you, we want you to be a lackey for a lackey, which to me is just such a great idea.
Yeah.
What's it like in the early days of ECW? Your first day in the locker room, how do you feel?
Did you ever see the Howard Stern movie Private Parts?
Yeah, I love it.
When he comes down on the MTV Awards as Fart Man, and then, like, he's in his Fart Man costume and he's walking through the backstage area. Everybody's looking at him like, what the fuck is this guy?
No way. Is that how you felt?
Well, like, I show up, I introduce myself to everybody. Some guys are familiar with me, like guys like Dreamer and Taz. They were familiar with me from working for Sabu in the Detroit area. Sabu used to book me on the shows before I was the Blue Meanie. So Sabu knew me, Taz knew me, Dreamer knew me. Eventually, Paulie remembered me because he was on those Sabu shows too.
Right.
But I show up, and most people are putting on their gear, and I'm like pulling out these Daisy Duke shorts and a half shirt, and I'm just like, oh. I was like, I'm so used to just putting on gear and looking like a wrestler, and here I am putting on a half shirt and Daisy Dukes, and people are just like, I could feel the side eyes, just like, what's this guy doing? But the more I showed up, the more used to, familiar the guys got with me, and before you know it, I was pretty much welcomed into the locker room. Once they saw, I mean, Paul knew what I was willing to do because on one of the Sabu shows in Detroit, him and Sabu shaved my head. And I went up to the TV studio one week. He's like, my God, I know your face. I know your face, sir. Sir, you look familiar. It's like, well, you might, I don't know if you remember, you shaved my head on Sabu shows. He goes, that's it. You're the, and then from that point on, he knew I was willing to do what it took to, do anything for a show, for the crowd, for the sake of the business.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
No, it's just the boys became more familiar with me, and I back in those days, after every ECW show, especially shows in Philly, we had a hotel here called the Travel Lodge. I mean, there's still Travel Lodges, but this building has changed names since then. And it's this big circular building that we all called the Cylinder of Sin. And if you can imagine any like rock and roll hotel, like the movie Almost Famous, when they're going to the Hyatt, they call it the Riot House.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, but nobody really rode their motorcycles up and down the hall. It just very debaucherous times,
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, because after the show, Paul would do promos, and he wouldn't pay you until you did your promo. So
and he'd do that until like 4 or 5 in the morning, right? I mean,
sometimes
until he got it done.
Yeah, there was one time he had me and Stevie wait until 7 in the morning, and we had to drive to Pittsburgh to do a charity show for our buddy Lord Zoltan. Our buddy, he has 2 deaf sons, hearing impaired sons, and they go to a school for the deaf. And every year he would have a deaf wrestle fest, and me and Stevie would go out there and do that. But like Paul had us waiting till like 7 in the morning, and at 7 in the morning with no sleep, we had to drive to Pittsburgh, wrestle. We're driving back from Pittsburgh again on no sleep, and there's like a good hour where me and Stevie have no recollection of. You talk about like paranormal stuff and supernatural stuff. There's a moment we're driving back from Pittsburgh, and me and Stevie just like we both go, and we like look at the time, and we look at the mile marker. We're like, where are we? It's just like, were we abducted and they just put us back like an hour? It was like we had no recollection of that hour, and it could have been very tragic,
Yeah, shit.
But back to the Travel Lodge, Paulie would have us do promos, and the more I kept showing up at the hotel to hang out, party, do promos, they're like, he's one of us, and stuff like that. So it was good times. Good times. I often say that if you spend a night at the Cylinder of Sin, you are immune to the coronavirus, because there's so many things that happen at that hotel I can't repeat because people are married and have children.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, good times and eye-opening times for a young kid, because I was 21, 22 in ECW.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, what's this? And what are they doing? Kind of thing. But it was good times. Good times.
I don't want to get too personal, but being a bigger lad, sometimes it could be hard to get laid. Being in ECW, being on television, when was that first moment where it switched and and it changed, and it was easier to pick up girls.
I did okay in high school. I had the Bobby Eaton mullet, so I had some kind of swagger going on,
Right.
the Bobby Eaton special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school for like maybe 3 years, and then after that, it was like game on. ECW, I really didn't mess with too many chicks because
No.
I knew that where they had been. I
Yeah.
don't want to have so and so's. I don't want to have so and so's seconds. And it's like I know where you've been. I'm
I'm
gonna have
sure.
to dip
I'm
myself in a
sure
list
so and so is Raven, probably.
or Balls Mahoney or whatever. I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't want balls as seconds. I can.
No, I would have to take a bath in Listerine afterwards. Just
We interviewed New Jack, and he told us about a story where they were in a car together, and he saw Balls pick his own booger and eat it, and then New Jack
oh yeah,
threw up.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh dear.
Look, I might say look, if you talk to anybody from ECW, we might sound like we're talking shit about Balls Mahoney, but we talk about Balls Mahoney the way we would have broke his balls in person.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
He's beloved. He's beloved. Everyone seems to love him.
I miss him every day. We formed a tag team after ECW called Blue Balls.
What a great idea! What a great idea!
And we came in the room with two blue steel chairs, and I still have those chairs.
Oh, cool, man. That's nice.
Oh, yeah, me and Mahoney had these. So, Mahoney was such a character, and he can bullshit you about something, and he's bullshitting you, but you just let him go because it's entertaining. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't get. That's the thing. If you're gonna lie to me, make it entertaining. Like the infamous story where he said he killed a great white shark with a spork. It's just like the boys still. When he passed away, we all had our profile photos on all social media. When Balls Mahoney died, was a spork with angel wings. So it's just like
Well, I mean, I guess you better get used to someone being entertaining and lie to you if your boss is Paul Lee.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the best stories aren't always factual. It's like don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're fucking lying to me to steal money from me, I'll have a problem with that, or just to fuck me out of something. But if you're just telling me a story and there's no harm, no foul, and it's really not harming anybody, what do I give a fuck? Just make me laugh. Make me laugh. Make me elbow the next guy and go, get the fuck out of it. Get a load of this guy. It's all about perspective.
I'm driving with you, bro. I want to talk about the BWO. Look, I'm sure every interview you've had, you've been asked about how it was formed, what the idea, who it came from. But I specifically did not listen or watch any interviews with you before this because I wanted to get the information fresh because it makes me excited to hear things first and foremost. So the BWO is formed. Whose idea was this? And, how did it go?
For years and years and years and years, I've said, I came up with an idea with a conversation with Al Snow. It's so weird how, a lot of times wrestlers get accused of lying about something because something might be off about the story. But the truth of the matter is, as a wrestler, you're used to just living your life. You do the show, you go into the next show, you do that show, you go to the next show. You're not going back and watching everything and remembering everything. You're going from here, and sometimes this gets a little cloudy, but whatchamacallit? With that said, I've been doing a ton of interviews where I said, I came up with this in a conversation with Al Snow. Al was in the WWE. I was in ECW, and I was just calling in to check on a friend. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? What's going on? And I was like, yeah, man, we've been doing all these parodies in ECW with the, the Fabulous Ones, the Blue Meanie Bloods. We did Kiss, which was probably besides BWO, Kiss is probably my other favorite.
All the classic shit.
Yes, because we were trying to be topical. So I was like, yeah, I guess the next logical step is the New World Order. I was just spitballing ideas. We could be the Blue World Order, and I said a bad guy could be the blue guy, all this good stuff, right? And I also talked to Bubba Ray Dudley a lot now too. And we were talking, and he talked about how he had pitched it at DCW Arena, but he had like, yeah, you could be the new Blue World Order or whatever. So somewhere in between the two stories is the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes somebody will say something and it'll trigger something you forgot about. And he said that to me one time. I was like, you know what? I remember that. So in between there, we both kind of collaborated on that. And it just came down to who's going to be who. And in my mind, me and Stevie were the tag team, and we had Supernova, who, he was part of the trio, but he was like the singles guy. Me and Stevie were the tag team. Hall and Nash were the tag team.
Naturally.
And when you look at the NWO size order, Stevie was the tallest, so he should be Kevin Nash.
Yep.
I was second, so I should be Scott Hall. And then Nova be Hogan. And there's a couple weird conversations where Stevie was like, nah, somebody's got to be Virgil. We're like, no, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple.
Let's not waste a spot.
Yeah. But the beat up. Well, yeah. Then you got split, not knowing we were going to have merch down the line. Yeah. Then you got split 4 ways instead of 3 ways. But that's a whole nother story. We pitched the idea to Raven pitched it to Paul and Todd, because Todd Gordon was still with the company. Todd Gordon, the catalyst for ECW. People tend to forget that. And it was supposed to be a one night thing. So I went and just got my shirt. I got us airbrush shirts done. I always had the airbrush shirt, so I went to my airbrush artist, got the shirts done. It's going to be a one night thing. A little inside baseball. When we come over to railing, when we debut, we had the guys with the picket signs and stuff like that. And one kid comes over to the rail and falls over. And that was Chris Candido's little brother, Johnny. Candido's brother, Johnny, and his friend, who his name escapes me, and they're buddies. They were our BWO picketer guys. So it was supposed to be a one night thing. We come back to the back, and Paul and Todd were like, I think we're going to do that again. And then they got the idea for selling T-shirts, and the BWO became the second highest selling T-shirt in ECW history.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Man,
we never saw a time
I'm still trying to find one. I bought one on eBay like 4 or 5 months ago, and it ended up getting cancelled because they said that they didn't have it, even though I bought it.
If you go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie,
okay,
you could get the BWO shirt. You could get the BWO Bob Wire shirt.
That's an exclusive here, ladies and gentlemen.
I just put out the BWO Japan shirt, which was a limited run in Japan.
We got a BWO Japan.
Yeah, because the BWO expanded.
Fantastic.
NWO partnered with New Japan.
They did that, so you had to do it too.
Japan, we partnered with Michinoku Pro, and we had Taka Michinoku, men's tag, Nick Togo as BWO Japan.
Of course, I remember seeing it. On television. My bad.
For a limited run,
completely forgot about that.
For a limited run, they had these BWO shirts and said Japan underneath. So I took that artwork, and they stopped making them. So I was like, fuck it, I'll make them.
You'll make them. Fucking.
And they're up there on Pro Wrestling Tees. I got BWO baby onesies. It's ridiculous. So.
I'm going to get involved, man. I really need one because I have every NWO shirt you could think of, but the BWO shirt. So I
got the BWO shirt in blue and white. In case you want the white with the blue lettering.
I want both.
I'm seasonal. Also, we have the BWO theme. Which I have here on my Roadcaster. Here, I'll zoom that down.
That's great, bro. Thanks for
I have
that.
this little gimmick where I can hit sound effects and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
man, like you're way better than me. Look at me. I've got like this shitty old laptop that I still haven't
oh,
replaced.
I'm on a laptop too.
It's
I
all
just
foggy and shit. Like my laptop's shit, bro. Like, anyway, I wanted to know, like, this at some point soon you're gonna leave ECW.
right.
Were you frustrated at that point, or was it just because there was an opportunity that came about because Vince Russo wanted you to be the Raw boy? Why did you leave ECW when you did?
I mean, I didn't want to leave. ECW was some of the most fun of my life, and I was getting to a point where I was kind of actually starting to make a little bit of money in ECW because Bam Bam Bigelow came up to me at a show and coached me up on asking Paul for a raise. You know, he
Right,
saw everything I was doing. He's like, between me and you, how much we make? I was like, blank. I make X amount. He's like, go to Paul and ask for X amount. I was like, all right. I worked up my courage to go find Paul. I was like, hey, Paul, can I get X amount? And he's like, sure. Yes, sir. Yeah. And then we started doing 3 or 4 shows a week. And, life was getting a little bit better. When you're first getting into business, you're working for experience and exposure,
of
which
course.
ECW gave me. And I got noticed for WWE. But I was very happy in ECW. But I also had a family. And
At this
my
point,
mom and
you had your grandma to look after, and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, Al Snow called me and was like, "Hey, are you under contract to Paul?" I was like, "Nope."
Oh, ow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they back channeled it. He's like, "There's an opportunity to come to the WWE. Would you go?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, "We have an idea for you to be in the job squad. Would you be in?" Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. So I was like, "All right, somebody's gonna call you." So he hangs up, and half hour later, Bruce Pritchard calls, and Meanie, I need your information, name, address, phone number, incidentals. I was like, all right. And he's like, I'll see you Sunday at 11 o'clock. Because normally it's 1 o'clock, but they're running Philly. I debuted in Philly, my hometown, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that day they were splitting the arena with either the Philadelphia 76ers or the Philadelphia Flyers. I forget which team. So they had to have an early show.
Right.
And so I debut. He's like, come be at the arena at 11 o'clock. Sure. I was there at 10. So fuck it. Be early.
Yeah.
So after I hung up with Bruce Pritchard, I took about 10 to 15 steps. We lived on a 1-floor apartment. My bedroom was right next to the living room. I walked 10 feet from my telephone to the living room. I tell my grandma, I look at my mom and my grandmom. I go, put all the bills in my name. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? Huh? It's like, put all the bills in my name. Because they knew, what I was making and all that stuff and
All
rent and
right.
electricity and all that. And they knew what they had to pay a month. And I was like, put all the bills in my name. They're like, why? I was like, I just signed with the WWE.
Oh
And my
man.
grandma reached for a chair. Her knees almost buckled. She almost went down. She was like, you know. So I gave my grandma the best last 2 years of her life.
What an
So
amazing moment, man, to make your grandmother so happy, and
yeah,
to show that this dream that you've been chasing after finally came to fruition at that point. That's
yeah.
so nice.
I basically look at my WWE run as a really big rebate and all the money my folks had spent on
All right.
WWE growing up.
Yeah.
It's like they're just paying me back. They're just giving me my money back. This is like a big refund because I was such a mark for WWE. But I was in ECW having a great time, but there's always that Catholic guilt I had in the back of my head. I was like,
Of course.
man, I got to start doing something to pay my folks back. People go and wrestlers go, oh, I paid my dues. Well, sometimes the wrestlers' families pay dues too.
Yeah,
And
man, definitely. How
yeah,
did
this is my chance.
how
I'm
did
sorry, go ahead.
Paul sorry man, how did Paul Lee react to it when you told him?
He didn't. I tried calling Paul, and his I kept getting his answer machine,
Okay.
which is typical Paul. You can't take anything with Paul Heyman. You can't take anything personal. You really can't.
Because just the stories I heard over the years, like he would get really upset, but he knew that he couldn't
No.
stop anyone.
Uh,
But he would get upset like but like this is people's livelihoods. They wanna go to the big show, the very big show.
Well, that's the thing. At the time, a lot of people don't know Paul was working for WWE at the time.
Yeah, and no one knew it, right? I didn't know
Yeah.
that until like a documentary about him came out. And I've watched every single wrestling documentary that has ever been made, and none of that ever came out. All the shoot interviews, and then I've learned it when I saw that. That must have been mind blowing for you.
Well, no, well, I kind of had a hint.
Did you?
At the time? Yeah. Well, I mean, Raw, ECW invaded Raw. I mean,
Of course.
You know, that was a tipping point. Like, we're working together.
Right.
But there was also there was a point where Al Snow was in ECW, and we were getting WWE talent.
Yeah.
In ECW, like Furnace and LaFon, and Al Snow got brought down. We got draws for a little
draws
bit.
And
we were getting all these WWE guys to get some experience in ECW. It's like, come on. But the true telling point for me personally, Al was in WWE, and we were watching. Danny Doring had just come out of the House of Hardcore Wrestling School with Taz's school. Him, Roadkill, Chris Chetty, and they were getting spots on shows to get used to working in front of people. And we're watching Danny's matches, and we're popping for Danny. We're like, man, Danny looks real sleazy, kind of, like he should get like the slick back hair, come to the ring with like a, little. He could go in the ring and be like, he could get on the mic and go, hey, you might know. He could be like a former adult star. He could be like, hey, you might know me from my latest film, Schindler's Fist. And he can have a little washcloth from the hotel he could call the Spunk Rag, and he can have the finisher called the Money Shot. So me and Al were like, we're popping each other, going back and forth. And we tell Danny, he pops for it. We go over to Paul. Hey, Paul, come listen to this. What do you think of this idea? He goes, sir, that is a great idea. And he shakes her hand. You just came up with a great character. 3 months later, hello, ladies.
All right. Fucking hell.
And Val Venus comes to the ring. And me and Al were like, back then, me and Al were on, we talked on AOL Instant Messenger, like all the cool kids at the time. And
wow,
I was like,
AOL Messenger. Shit, that's a throwback.
Yeah, we were like, do you believe this shit? Can you believe? Fucking Paul. But like Al smarted me up that Paul was in on the then Paul was smarting me up that Al smarted me up that Paul was working with WWE, and he was at Vince's house on writing meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you went to the ECW studios, like on a Monday when they edited the shows together, they worked on the shows Sunday, Monday. They would always have like ECW guys were always watching the show, the Monday Night Wars inside the ECW editing room, because the ECW studio was just the back back patio of somebody's house, and they closed back patio. So we're watching, so you had an idea that Paul was in cahoots, but didn't bother me, WCW was painted as the Antichrist, and WWE was, we rebelled against them, but we were we were in they were in our pockets a little bit. So
I have to say at this stage, Meanie, I'm a little bit concerned about time because I've got so many more questions left. I just want to let you know that and I know you've got your Fight TV thing coming up later, so I just want to let you know that
I booked this interview on a day where later on tonight on Fight TV. Even if you're not watching it live right now, it'll be up there forever. So if you want to queue that up with your network, Josh Chernoff and I from the MonetMaaate podcast are doing alternative commentary on Fight TV to WWE SummerSlam, where
and I guarantee you it will be better than what the actual commentary is.
We're aiming for, I don't know if you ever saw Mystery Science Theater 3000, where they, people are just like, they're watching a movie and they're just cracking jokes and stuff like that. It's kind of, we're going to have fun, and it's live, so it's going to be a little bit dangerous as well. And around it's going to be a 4-hour pay-per-view. So third hour in, we might be, I might be popping some edibles or whatever. I don't know who
You'll need to, dude. I don't watch it anymore. I hate it. So
look, Look, listen to me.
I can't.
Listen. Wrestling is
Yes,
like
sir.
pizza. Wrestling is like pizza. Even when it's good, it's, oh my God, it's the best pizza I ever had. And when it's bad, still pizza. You know, sometimes I love great wrestling, and sometimes I love bad wrestling. You know, one of my favorite worst shows is Herb Abrams' UWF Blackjack Brawl, which is on YouTube. And the show is so bad, it's like one of my favorite shows to watch because it's so bad. So the best thing about these shows is, we'll be watching along, and we'll have our own commentary. So if you want to, over here in the States, I don't know if they do that in Australia with sports, but I'm a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I turned down our TV and listened to the local sports radio announcers because they paint a better picture of
Right.
what's going on.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah, the TV guys would go, first and 10, blah 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 blah. But when you listen to the radio announcers, they could tell you what the blades of grass look like on the field. They paint a photo. So I'm going to approach this like I am the radio announcer for WWE. I'm going to try to paint you a picture of the show that you might not have thought of otherwise. I'll give you an insider's perspective, and I'll also try to make it entertaining and funny, not, to tear down the product, but, just to add to the product. So hopefully a lot of people, it's free. Go to Fight TV. Make sure you register your account before you go in.
I'll watch SummerSlam if you're commentating. I'll do that.
Yeah, go to Fight TV.
I wouldn't otherwise.
You got to make your account.
I will.
Because plenty of times I went to watch something that was live, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't log in. So you got to log in an account, make an account. So when you go on, there's no delays. And turn down the volume on WZWA Network and turn up the volume on Fight TV. So
cool, Meanie.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Thanks, bro. Not many more questions. Maybe about 12.
Excellent.
I wanted to talk to you about like your early run in the WWF, and you're in the Job Squad, but there's this figure that you have with Gold Dust, and it's fucking epic. I don't care what anyone has to say about it. It was epic. Like, I was so entertained when I first saw Blue Dust rock up on television. How did you feel about that angle? Because I was thoroughly entertained as a kid.
Oh, it was great. The cool thing about everybody I've done a parody of, they've been cool with the parody I've done of them. So, it's been very cool. When I was doing Blue Dust, it was like I said, we were trying to be topical, and at the time, Gold Dust had done a promo on Raw where he was completely naked, covered by the his wee bits were covered by the Intercontinental belt. I don't know if they're wee.
Yeah.
No offense to Dustin, I love him. I learned a lot working with Dustin, Gold Dust as well. He was very welcoming. So we did a promo similar to that, but at the time, Raven put Steve Richards on a mission to find the dirtiest, nastiest, skankiest woman. And, they brought out Divine Brown, who was a prostitute with Hugh Grant and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, I'm not dirty enough, And then he takes him to this park and goes, I introduce you to Blue Dust. And it's me doing the parody of Naked Gold Dust.
Right.
Well, if you could see right over my shoulder where my finger is, that's a little Blue Meanie troll doll.
Yeah.
That was covering my wee parts. And the shelf behind me is like it's a little ode to Meanie, whatever. But we did the promo, and then like maybe 30 seconds. I always say 3 seconds, but it was more like 30 seconds. The police showed up. Somebody called the cops.
Really?
And, it's me naked, covered in blue blue cake icing, because I forgot to bring the paint, so we had to figure out how to cover me blue.
Right.
Me surrounded by Paul, film crew, Dreamer, Raven, Sandman's wife, and Sandman's 6-year-old son. Yeah.
Tyler.
So the cop looks at us and goes, I don't know what you guys are doing, but please stop it. I don't want to do the paperwork on this.
Right.
We're like, yes, sir. Yeah, blah, blah. I'm covering my big white ass. And Sandman goes, yo, can we do one more? We're like, shut up. Shut up, Hack. Shut the fuck up. He's letting us go. So yeah, Blue Dust was a lot of fun. And then I got to bring it to WWE because
Right, cool, man. I actually, I'm sorry that I didn't remember that from ECW.
dude, it's fine. People
I've still got a
apologize
lot to
because they didn't
watch.
catch on the ECW. People apologize because they didn't catch on the ECW till late. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, unless you lived in Philly, you didn't see it every week. And some people caught it late at night, 2 a.m. on like a chat station, like a UHF station here, in the States or whatever. At least you saw it, or some people strictly saw it through tape trading, so
So how did it come about? Did you pitch it to Vince Russo, or did you let them know that you'd done this before and you want to do it again? And this is what led to the Blue Dust thing in WWF.
yeah, they were kind of splitting up the job squad,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, what do I do now? So they did an angle where Goldust stole Al Snow's head. I was, still acquainted with Al, so I was doing commentary. It was Sunday Night Heat. I was doing commentary with Kevin Kelly and Shane McMahon, and Goldust comes out during Al Snow's match, steals the head. So I was like, this whole time I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So I pitched to Russo. I was like, hey man, in ECW I did the character Blue Dust. Now I said Goldust is the guy who plays mind games and stuff like that. What if I bring back Blue Dust to play mind games with the guy who plays mind
Yeah.
games?
What if you fuck with him in that way? Like,
Fuck with his head.
very interesting story.
Yeah. Always a little plot twist. And Vince just stood there and then he pitched it. And they're like, yeah, we're down. We're good. And then we started doing things where I was fucking Goldust back, and then eventually I stole the head back for Al.
Yeah.
As Blue Dust. And here's a good story. I was Blue Dust in WWE, and there, the guy from Richie who does the photos, Richie Posner, I want to say his name. One of the photographers was like, hey, let's do a studio session of you and your Blue Dust gear. I was like, all right. So I go in the back and I start painting up, I'm in the bathroom painting up, and Undertaker walks in and he's got he's got a fresh hair full of, he's a natural redhead, but he was doing like a darker color since he was the Prince of Darkness, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's got all this dark red hair dye in. So I'm painting up and Taker walks in, puts his hands on his hips and goes, the things we do. It's such a great moment. I popped huge. I was like, absolutely, Mr. Taker. And
you think about it, man. That's a massive moment in your wrestling career to have a bonding moment over painting yourself with the Undertaker, dude. Like,
in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's huge. What did you think of your match with Goldust at St. Valentine's Day Massacre?
You know what? I get a lot of good feedback on that match. A little inside baseball or behind the scenes. Goldust's back was really shot.
Right.
Around that time, he was having a lot of back problems.
Okay.
And at the pay-per-view in Memphis, when you're on the pay-per-view, they take you in a room called the Finish Room, and they, it was me, Bruce Pritchard, and Goldust. And Goldust goes, Bruce, I'm going to do my best, but my back is fucking killing me, right?
Right.
So he's like, Goldust, do whatever you got to do, right? So the match was a little bit more abbreviated than we probably could have done. But there's things I did to work around him not having to take a bump. Like he did stuff for me and I powdered out and would go down the aisle to kind of like act like I'm stalling for time. But for me, that was so Goldust had less to do with the back that was killing him. So, and if you see him try to give me the shattered dreams, I mean, the curtain call, his finisher.
Curtain call, yeah.
His back was shot. And, people are like, Blue Meanie couldn't jump for like, look, motherfucker, I do a moonsault off the top rope where I jump and do a fucking flip. I could have got up for it, but his back was really hurting him. He was in a lot of pain that match, and we both tried to do stuff that didn't involve him taking bumps. So
Yeah. Well,
working with him, that was a great pay-per-view too.
Yeah, it really was. It was like when it was at its peak, man. And you all heard it here first, everyone. The reason why the finish of the match didn't maybe come off so well is because Dustin's back was fucking killing him. So it's not because the meanie couldn't fucking do it. He could do it. But it takes two to tango, motherfucker. So
yeah. It said Meanie couldn't jump, and I'm like, wrong.
I'm loving these things that you're throwing in there. I'm guessing
Because I
this
could
is
do
from,
moonsaults. So
this is all from the mind of the meanie, isn't it? Your little
I'm
podcast that you've got
insane.
going on now, man. I love
I'm
it. I
legit
love it.
nuts. I just don't have the paperwork. I'm legit nuts. But yeah, like I said, I always there's always a show going on in my head. And thankfully every week now I get to do a show with Josh Chernoff for Fight TV. Mine and the Meanie airs every Monday at 6 a.m. In the States at least, or wherever you are in the world, wherever you can find podcasts. If you don't like downloading podcasts and you just want to listen to it on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie, where every Monday we put up our podcast, but we also try to put up different programming. Like we did a live YouTube exclusive special. And my wife, Mrs. Meanie, does a video, every now and then called the Mrs. Meanie Run-In, which was like an organic segment to Mind of the Meanie, because sometimes they tell a story and I might forget a little detail, and she'll do a run in and go, you forgot about this part, and then she'll run back out. So it became the Mrs. Meanie Run-In. She has her own theme song. She has her own show now on our YouTube channel. So
cool, man.
Go over to YouTube, give us a little subscription, give us a little like, give us a little feedback. So hopefully you enjoy it.
Do it, listeners, please. I wanted to chime in here with another question about who in the WWF did you become friends with other than Al?
Oh my God, I pretty much became friendly with everybody. I related more with guys like, Edge, Christian, and the Hardys, because we were roughly around the same age.
Younger lads, yep.
And we all liked the same bands. We all liked Pearl Jam. We all liked Metallica.
Yeah,
we all
dude. Yeah.
So
that's my jam.
Yeah, there's a couple times where I'm riding with Christian or whatever, and we're just listening to music, and then I found out they like Pearl Jam, and I like Pearl Jam, and I had all the bootlegs and all this stuff. So I would
got everything, dude. I've got everything.
Yeah,
huge Pearl Jam fan, dude.
I have several gigs of hard drive space dedicated, and when you're in high school, you're buying bootleg CDs, and they're killing you for like $30.
Yeah,
they didn't spend that much on that CD, but I still got them. But yeah, once I figured out those guys like that, I kind of bonded with them. To where I start making mix CDs of all my favorite Pearl Jam songs. But here, listen to this. They're like, hey, good one, and stuff like that. But no, there's guys from there I'm still friends with, like Bob Holly. Bob Holly's great.
One of the best guys I've ever fucking met, man. Honestly,
you'll know where you stand with Bob. He doesn't bullshit.
Never. And I wrestled on a show with him in 2014, and I told him this story. Everyone in the locker room was scared of him. But I had seen a kayfabe commentaries interview with him, and I knew that he was just a nice guy. Everyone was scared of him because they probably seen Tough Enough or whatever. But I was like, I parked my shit next to him backstage, knowing that he was going to be awesome, and he was. And that's why we ended up getting to interview him, because he doesn't do them very much anymore, but because he remembered me, he did it for us. So big shout out to Bob. Love him. And if anyone out there can please go on to change.org and sign up for Bob Holly to be on the TV show Alone. It is his dream to be on this show. He talked about it. We went overtime, and he said, I don't give a shit that we've gone overtime, because he wanted to talk about how he loves going out into the wilderness and doing his thing. So if you can please go on to change.org and sign up to it. We want to get him on that show. We want the History Channel to be well aware that Bob Holly will draw fucking ratings.
That'd be amazing.
It would be.
Well, now that I know about it, man, I'll start campaigning for it. Just send it to me on.
I'll send you the link, man. Like we want to get him on the show. I've emailed that fucking History Channel like 3 times now, and I just get this like automatic response that's from a robot. Anyway, I want to know if you had any fun stories being on the road with Mick Foley. I know he's mentioned you in his book before, so tell me a little bit about Mick.
Dude, you can't find a better person than Mick. Between what he's done in the business and all the charity work that he does now post career and stuff like that, post in ring career, I should say. Just so much fun stuff. Like one time we're driving from Cleveland to Pittsburgh. It's me, Al, and Mick. And at the time, the big hit single at the time was Britney Spears' "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." And fucking, I forgot how it came, but like Mick goes, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but you know what song I like? I go, what do you like? He goes, and me and I are like, what? He's like, that Britney Spears song, "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." And we're like, Al hadn't heard of the song. I went, oh my God, me too. We're like a couple chicks. I'm like, oh my God, me too. We're screaming like girls screaming for the Beatles in the 60s, Yeah. And I was like, really? And you couldn't have scripted it any better. The song came on the radio.
Really?
And me and Mick are like, bopping our heads back and forth like this and, singing the song. And then Al like goes along. Al's like, bopping his head back and forth. And there's a part where Brittany goes, I still believe. And like, me and Mick are singing that in the background. So we pull up to a toll booth and the song's still on. We're still like rocking out. And the lady in the toll booth just had this look of disgust on her face, like, oh, look at these fucking guys just like bopping out to fucking Britney Spears. And like, when we get to the show, but then Mick became aware that like I really liked Britney Spears. So there was a show in Philly. I guess Britney Spears was in town. She was doing a show at the Tower Theater in Philly. We were at the Wells Fargo Center, then the First Union Center, where WrestleMania 15 was. Mick and Edge and somebody else comes up and goes, Meanie, you'll never guess where we just were. We went over to the Tower Theater and met Britney Spears. And he just looked at me and my face just went,
oh no.
Like, guys, why didn't you tell me?
Why didn't you invite me?
Guys, why'd you? Dude, I like Britney Spears. Grown men. And the further down the line, we're at a show in Cincinnati. And Mick comes up and he goes, Meanie, listen to this. He plays me a voicemail. He goes, hey, Mick, this is Britney Spears. It was so nice meeting you and all this stuff. I'm just like, oh my God. So it's like he was
insult
like,
to injury.
In it. I was like, have her call me. I'm a fan too. And it turns out it was fucking the cat, Stacey Carter. The cat, Stacey Carter, calls his voicemail to be Britney Spears. He plays it for me. And he almost gave himself away. He almost started laughing while I was like listening to it. And I was like, you son of a bitch.
What an elaborate.
I thought you were a kind man, Mick Foley. You're just a mean man.
Oh, good on him. That's fun, man.
That's great.
I love all this.
And anytime he has a live show, he does his live one-man show. He comes to Philly. He brings me up for the Q&A after the show and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
I'm grateful to Mick because he, in ECW, his farewell, he brought me and Stevie out, and he had me and Stevie involved with a lot of his stuff in ECW.
Of course, yeah.
So he gave us the rub. He made us look legit in the eyes of the fans. So I owe a lot to Mick Foley.
Man, I have that Cactus Jack ECW DVD that just reminded me. I've still got that thing. I wanted to ask you about Ryan Shamrock. Do you have any stories about her? Because she seemed like kind of like a timid, quiet person. That's just me, like judging her from like performing. She was good, but she seemed like very timid as a person. What was she like?
As I take a sip of cold brew, yeah, she was cool. She was she was young. She might have been 19. So she was just like a 19-year-old girl. They
Right.
found maybe through a modeling agency or something. I don't know her background, but she was always cool. And then we got to work together, where I get in the ring and I call out,
It's
I
like
go,
you were.
Shamrock, get out here. Cause like
It's like
me, it was
you
me.
were jealous of the attention she
Yeah.
was getting from Goldust. That's
It was
such
supposed
great
to be,
television, man.
yeah, it was supposed to be me and Goldust. And then she butted in and I'm like, she's stealing my spotlight. So, character wise. And even when we were in WrestleMania 15, I had a t-shirt where like I'm cozying up the Goldust and I'm giving her the pie face to get her out of the way. So yeah, she was great. Uh, yeah, she's quiet, but I mean, she was just a person. That's
Yeah.
all we are really, and we're just people that just get to have this fun in front of the camera.
All I remember is like me and all my friends had a massive crush on her.
Oh,
We were like
yeah,
12. I think like what are we talking about? Like 1998, 1999.
yeah,
Yeah, 12 years old for me and my friends, just starting to notice girls. And I told
yeah.
Mary last week when I first saw Sable, that's when I became a man because I'd never seen a woman that looked like that before. So
Good stuff, man. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
um, absolutely. Before I get back to your past WWF time, I just wanted to ask you quickly, like, what was your favorite moment that you had in the WWF?
Oh, probably, it's got to be besides debuting for WWF in my hometown, having WrestleMania in my hometown of Philadelphia. In the city that made me, the city that made my career, and so I had I was on the grandest stage of them all in my hometown. So yeah, I debuted for ECW in Philly, debuted for WWE in Philly, and then I had my own WrestleMania moment. My first time on pay-per-view, barely legal in Philly,
Yeah,
and then WrestleMania 15. The
man,
first 20 pay-per-views are
huge.
like, because the first 25 years of a pay-per-view, certain brand is like celebrated. I was on one of the first 15. So I was very
Yeah,
fortunate to be a part of that, and considering I probably shouldn't have made it. Some people didn't think I was going to make it, so here I am on WrestleMania in my hometown. So that meant a lot.
you made it, and you deserved it because you made it. Like, there's no other rhyme or reason about it. And the most meaningful part about this whole thing is just the fact that your grandma would have seen it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I brought
And
her to a show. I brought her to a house show. I brought my mom, grandmom, my aunt and uncle to a show, and we rode there together. And I set them up with their seats. After the show, I bring them to the back, introduce them to a lot of the guys, and then we're walking. We're leaving the Wells Fargo Center, and there's a tunnel to the Wells Fargo Center, but there's uh, like a overhang where fans can stand and stuff like that. And they're like, Meanie, Meanie. I was like, give it up for grandma. And they start going, grandma, grandma, grandma. And she starts waving like she's the queen and stuff like that. So she got a little bit of a ovation. So, and
oh
deserving.
man, she would have had the thrill of her life having that moment take place. That's
Oh
really
my
cool,
God.
man.
Yeah. My aunt still talks about that to this day, so she got a
Um,
thrill out of it.
that's great, excuse me, bro. You exit the WWF at some point. I remember watching footage. I remember like you and Stevie wrestling the Dudley Boys in Sunday Night Heat,
Mm-hmm.
and from my memory, you're not there much longer. Why do you feel that you were released from the WWE?
Well, I was sent to developmental, which they had at the time in Memphis.
Okay.
Hey, go down there. Let's figure out something new for you, which was
So you
good for
weren't
me.
released. You were sent to developmental. That's why you
I,
disappeared from television.
yeah, my last official thing was Survivor Series, where it's supposed to be me, Kai and Ty, and Big Show, and I forget who were wrestling. And Big Show just beat us up in the locker room so he can have them all to himself.
Right.
So technically, that was like my last appearance on
Okay, I
TV.
remember that. Yeah.
So they sent me to developmental. I was down in Memphis for 6 months, and then my grandmom took ill, and I went home. I was like, "Hey, my grandmom's not doing well. I'd like to go back and be with her because she had pancreatic cancer." And I was just like, "I gotta go take care of her. She's at my house, and my mom's helping out, but it needs a little bit of help." So got to the point where my grandma was in ICU, intensive care, and I got, talk about perfect timing or imperfect timing. I leave the hospital, turn my phone back on, and there's a call from WWE. I call up WWE and get my release. So,
Oh man,
you know,
fucking what a kick in the
creative has nothing for you. So,
That's bullshit.
it is, but
No,
you know,
that sentence is bullshit. That's their job. Their job is to have something for you.
right.
And I'm guessing Vince Russo was in the company anymore at that point, right?
Oh no, I knew once Vince went to WCW, my time was probably on borrowed time because Vince, any company where somebody leaves, whoever that person hires they usually clean the slate and bring in
Well, the person
whoever.
that they're advocating is now going to be like
Like
D'Lo Brown or
yeah,
once Vince was gone, D'Lo was sent to the fucking lower mid card. So like it seems prevalent. It seems prevalent that and as soon as he said that, I was like, I bet Vince wasn't there anymore because Vince was
yeah,
an advocate for you.
absolutely.
Fucking hell.
But it's like that in any business, any industry,
I know some of my listeners,
especially in sports.
or some of our listeners get annoyed at me for sticking up for him, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. He did a fucking good job. I don't give a shit we have to say about WCW or TNA. It wasn't the same fucking structure that he needed around him to help him do what he did best. That's all
Right.
I have to say about that.
No, I like Vince Russo. I owe my good part of my career to him. I wouldn't have been in WWE without him. I think he did great things in WWE. He had a good filter. He would pitch things to Vince, and Vince said yay or nay, or Vince would just put a little tweak in it.
Just a
And
little
he just think,
touch. It's not like Vince McMahon changed the idea, he just added to it. That's the difference.
right.
People can say it's a filter, but when you add to it, it's not changing. It's just adding to it. It's just a little sprinkle on the cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the big events of the year is TLC, which Chris Jericho invented.
Yeah.
Where Money in the Bank. I'm sorry, two different
Yes.
Letterman. Money in the Bank. Jericho went to Vince and goes, "How about this idea? We all try to climb a ladder, get a contract that's on a clipboard hanging out above the ring." And Vince goes, "Make it a briefcase, and we'll do it." And that was
Exactly.
it. And now
Exactly.
they're selling briefcases. Fans are carrying briefcases around conventions and stuff like that, all just because a little tweak Vince made to Jericho's great idea.
And he's
So
right because the visual of a briefcase is so much nicer than just a piece of paper.
yeah, which just probably blow away with a good wind. But
So
yeah,
you left the WWF. We haven't got much time left, but I just wanted to kind of see if we can sift through these questions. How did it come about that you rejoined ECW in 2000 as Blue Boy, and what led you to the decision to lose 100 pounds of weight? Was that to reinvent yourself?
WWE had hinted that maybe I should lose weight, and I went and lost 160 pounds. I went from 390 to like 240 ish.
Killing the gimmick, man.
Oh, of course, but like they want me to try something new. I was like, all right.
Right.
So they released me, and I come up with the idea to go back to ECW. And Paul's like, I can't call you the Blue Meanie anymore. You're not the Blue Meanie. You don't look like him. And I was doing indies at the time, and all the indie promoters were, mad. Well, not mad, but like fans were complaining. You said the Blue Meanie is going to be here. That's not the Blue Meanie. And then at the same point, I lost 160 pounds, and all the people were like, "Oh man, you should lose weight, to better your life and all this stuff." And I lose the weight. The same people go, "Man, you don't look right. You're too skinny." I'm like, "Fuck you, people." You tell me to lose the
You
weight.
looked incredible, dude.
Yeah, the people are like, "Oh, you need to lose weight." And I lost the weight, and they're like, "Oh, you
Oh no,
don't
you
look
need to
right."
put on weight. That's
Yeah.
weird. That's weird.
So went back to ECW for a little bit. I had a chance to go to WCW, which in hindsight I probably should have went to WCW. When Bruce released me from WWE, it's like, look, I can call down to WCW, call JJ Dillon. You know, you've been nothing but, you know, he said you're nothing but a pleasure to work with. Nobody, no complaints, no nothing, which is rare. Yeah, what's the point of complaining? You know, I always figured present ideas instead of saying the ones they have suck. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like I chose the Hindenburg over the Titanic. So they're
It
both
didn't.
going down.
It didn't matter
I
either
went,
way.
yeah, it's like I went down. I went down with my friends instead of strangers. But I should have went and tried to get some of that Ted Turner money.
Get
You
some of
know.
that cheddar, bro.
Yeah.
I I, I
But I
watched.
was so young. I was young and dumb. I was young and dumb. I went with my heart instead of my brain. So, you know, what are you gonna do?
But in hindsight, I think there's you know, I mean, you might have made a little bit of money, but
I have no
in
complaints.
hindsight, you can go back to your friends and
Yeah.
go out that way with that company. I want to know if you wanted to talk about how you met Jasmine at all.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's like I thought to myself, I'm not really interested either way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so how did you first find out ECW was closing down?
Uh, dude, I had again, just like Al, you know, smart me up that Paul worked for ECW. Paul worked for ECW back in the day. Well, I was like, yeah, man, maybe I'll go back to ECW. He's like, why? It's going to close. I think Paulie's shutting it down a little bit. I went, really? You know, I should have listened to him. I should have went to WCW instead. But Al was like, yeah, I heard Paul's shutting it down in a couple months or whatever. And then, you know, I was doing a couple of shows, and then I found out on onewrestling.com. And then like,
Really? Oh my god.
mm-hmm. Well, and then and Paul showed up on Raw. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, well, there's
that's
that.
confirmation right there.
Oh yeah,
So whilst you try to give that answer, my girlfriend was standing at my back door stripping and showing her boobs to me.
congratulations.
Oh God. It's just 12:30 in the morning here. So anyway, I wanted to know if you saw any of the invasion angle and how I wanted to just we always ask everyone, we want everyone to shit on it. Why did it fail and what would you have done differently personally?
Well, it probably failed because most of the WCW stars, the real WCW stars, weren't there. I mean,
Yeah.
they had the ECW guys, but they didn't have the WCW guys. All that fantasy booking he could have done didn't come till, you know, their Time Warner deals ran out. You know, so
I should have bided their time a little bit and just waited it out, and maybe we could have made
milked
something
it a
of that.
little bit, yeah,
Yeah,
or just made the offer to buy out the contracts. But who knows if WWE was financially able to buy out those contracts at the time? But yeah, you didn't have the DDPs, you didn't have, you know, a
you
lot
have
of the main
Sting, you
stars.
have Goldberg, you have Flair, the NWO. I mean,
Right. And the NWO didn't come along till much later. So
and they fucked that up too.
right. But I mean, you talk about the perfect thing where you have all, you know, three companies under the same umbrella. It would have been awesome, but say a lot easy. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like as a wrestling fan, like there was three strikes and you're out. Number one, they fucked up the invasion angle. Number two, they fucked up the NWO. Number three, they fucked up the relaunch of ECW. When that was done, I was done. So that's going
Yeah.
back a long time. And that brings me to my next question. And I'm not interested in talking about the JBL thing because you've talked about it many times and we've heard it all before. But I just wanted to know how you were contacted to be a part of it. And to me, it felt like that one night stand, that first one, it still felt authentic ECW to me.
Mhm.
How did it feel to you to come full circle with that final show and to be a part of it?
It was cool because I mean, I don't think ECW should have ended in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. You
Of all
know,
places, Pine Bluff.
especially the week before they ran the arena. So why not just
Why not end it there?
end at the arena? And you know, everybody's like, "Really? ECW died in Pine Bluff, Arkansas?" Nothing against Pine Bluff, Arkansas,
I'm sure it's a lovely
town.
place. I'm sure it is,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like the ECW arena is the home. That's where it should have ended.
Yeah, and on the last ECW Arena show under the real ECW, they did like there's like a thing where everybody threw the chairs in the ring too, or something like that. But yeah, they could have just ended it right there. Flash forward, I go through a couple years where I call it my dark years. You know, had a goofy, tumultuous relationship. I ran shows with a promotion called 3PW. And then like the relationship ended, 3PW, closed down, and I was just like in a bad way. And then I get a call from I start hearing the rumors of there's going to be a reunion show. I was like, man, that'd be cool. They called me, and Dreamer called me like 2 weeks before the show. And I also did Jeremy Borash's Hardcore Homecoming, which was at the Sub Arena 2 days
Yeah,
before One Night Stand. So it was a great weekend.
that must have been
Yeah,
amazing. I mean,
yeah, I didn't know what I was doing until I get to much like the real ECW, I didn't know what I was doing until I got there, and then everything it was One Night Stand was like the love letter to the ECW fans who never really got a proper send off,
yeah.
and if they would have just left it at that would
I,
have been
w-
perfect,
I
like a
wish they
perfect
didn't
belt.
have like the Raw and SmackDown guys. Like that just was so unnecessary. Like they didn't need that. Like it
Right.
should have been just about this one thing.
Yeah, but
Um,
it still wound up being a great event. That was a great weekend. Um, even though I got, the JBL thing happened, and 2 nights before I got split open by Sandman accidentally on the Hardcore Homecoming show where I had 8 staples in the back of my head, and then the JBL things happened, and I got another set of stitches and stuff. So I came out of that weekend looking like Frankenstein's monster. But oh, hey, it is what it is. But it was a great weekend. I twisted my ankle really bad on the Hardcore Homecoming show, and it's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do Sunday. So like the whole Saturday before One Night Stand, I'm like laying in bed with my leg elevated, putting ice and, soaking my foot in Epsom salts, trying to get the swelling down and trying to be able just to walk. I just taped it up heavily and, I gritted my teeth and bared it. So, but yeah, that whole weekend was fun. All things considered. But as fucked up as the JBL situation was, it pulled me out of this funk I was in to where, people start talking about me again and people took interest in me again. And it kind of revitalized my career to where I started doing indies again. And I was on my own. I was my own man again. I was a man again. And, between the time WWE released me and the time I went back for One Night Stand, I was, usually when you leave the WWE, you do really good at the indies because you're a name talent coming off WWE TV. But
yeah,
ECW closed and WCW closed, so the market was flooded with talent.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I was fighting. It was like swimming with sharks. You're trying to get these dates and these bookings, and it's hard to get all these bookings because there's so much talent out there, fresh off TV that everybody wants to use. So I kind of went to a funk, and then like I said with the One Night Stand thing, it sucks. But I started, people are like, "Hey, it's Book Meanie again," and
Isn't it weird that in a way that the JBL situation ended up helping you?
yeah,
That's weird, right? It was
mm-hmm.
it's a horrible thing that happened, but it actually ended up helping you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, God bless JBL for the Blue Meanie. Like,
Well,
that,
to his credit, he apologized and not Royal Rumble was in Philly a couple years ago, but the one before that, I want to say 5 years ago, Royal Rumble was in Philly. The one where everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to win or whatever. I
yep,
had pitched the idea of me being in the Royal Rumble to JBL, and JBL took it to creative. And because I had just done a DVD for the ECW for WWE called ECW Unreleased Volume 3, me and
right,
Stevie and Joey Styles. So
yeah.
I was like, what perfect way to talk about talk about this project I just did. Royal Rumble in Philly, home of ECW.
Big
Here
pop.
comes the host of the ECW DVD WWE just spent money to make.
Yeah,
would have been perfect. But they went with Bubba Ray Dudley, which I'm not mad about.
Although it
Bubba
was
had
weird
been there.
seeing him do the 3D with R-Truth, but
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
would have preferred you, man. I would have preferred
yeah,
you. Love
yeah.
Bubba,
It came,
but
yeah. It came down to the last second. It was down to me and Bubba, and they chose Bubba, which is fine. No biggie.
yeah. So when the BWO was in the WWE briefly in 2005, what did you notice that had changed about the company from when you were there last time?
I mean, there's always like a structure there, but like we went back, before they would just tell you what you're doing and you go over your segment and then go out and do it. And I guess this time they were starting to do like rundowns of the entire show where,
There was such
okay,
a
this is segment one in the ring. This is what you're going to do. This and that and the other thing. And it wouldn't have matches or nothing, but just like they would do the layout of the show in the ring with the talent, stuff like that. I was like, that's interesting, and we did our segment with JBL, and I did the promo I was going to do. And thank God I'm kind of glad they did the run through, because the way I had done it, Stevie pulled me aside and said, hey, try doing it this way. I did it the other way, and the other way turned out to be best, where if I had done that, it might not have been as effective. But yeah, they were more thorough with the rundown of the show, and with the structure and stuff like that. But other than that, it didn't seem all that much different.
cool, man. I just want to say, as a fan, I remember fist pumping when you pinned JBL. I really loved that. It was like it just felt like a moment for the little guys. You know what I mean?
My favorite part of that was not telling anybody I was doing it.
Yeah, I didn't expect it when I watched it, and
I got
all of
called.
a
I got
sudden,
called to do it, and
I thought
maybe
you
me.
I thought you were gonna lose. Like I thought it
Yeah,
was gonna be loss, but then like meanie salt, and then man, like I think I jumped out of my couch just like yes, meanie, yes.
the cool part is they taped it. It was a Raw SmackDown Super Show, and they did Raw. It was on the West Coast, so they did Raw live, which aired normal time East Coast, and then after that they taped SmackDown directly after that. And I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. You get good news, you want to tell everybody. I was like, nope, I ain't telling anybody. So I went there and did it. And then when the show aired, everybody calls me like, motherfucker, why didn't you tell me you were going back to WWE? And I was like, kayfabe, bro. You know, I still, I'm a believer. I love knowing something that nobody else knows and watching them react to it. So fuck it.
When we're done with this interview, I'm gonna watch that footage back because I really love it. I promise you I don't have too many questions left, so I can let you go. But uh, did you worked at the company when Owen Hart was still there?
Yeah.
Did he ever pull a rib on you, or did you ever witness a ribby pull? We want to make a little compilation of ribs of Owen Hart stories if we can get that done. But we ever witness to it?
A lot of times before, when it comes to Owen Hart, if you got ribbed by Owen Hart, it was like a badge of honor.
It's because he liked
So
you.
yeah, and there were never malicious ribs.
No.
They never cost you money, or they never hurt anybody's feelings. It's just like, okay, you got me. But like before shows, like we would do like autograph signings, and they get like a row of wrestlers, and they would have the sheet of paper says WWE. You sign your name, pass it on the next guy. He signs it. He passes it on. He signs it. So like, I had the misfortune. It wasn't really misfortune, but of being, Owen was to my left, or no, Owen was to my right. I was to Owen's left. I would sign and I pass it right to Owen. So I would sign my signature, the Blue Meanie, hand it over, and he would sign his name, and then he would take a quick second to write something under your name, my name. Like, it would say the Blue Meanie, I'm lonely and I find you oddly attractive. Or the Blue Meanie, please call the cops. Blue Meanie, it would just go on and on. Like he would write something underneath your signature, like as if you wrote it. that make you look like, you were the strange one when he's ribbing you. And then unfortunately on the day he passed at Over the Edge, he was walking around. He was walking around in his blue blazer mask, and he had the like the jumper suit on the WWE TV crew had on, because he was going to wear that as he walked up to the rafters, so he wasn't noticed by the crowd. And he's walking around in his mask, and he's just introducing himself to everybody as the Blue Blazer. Hi, Blue Blazer. Hey, Blue Blazer. Hey, Blue Blazer. So I'm sitting there talking with Bob Holly, and he comes over to me, and Bob Holly goes, "Hi, Blue Blazer," and Bob's like, "Oh, pleasure to meet you." He looks at me and goes, "Ah." Go, "Hi, Blue Meanie." He goes, "Ah, Blue Meanie, huh? We're gonna have to do something about that name, because Blue Meanie, Blue Blazer." So yeah, he always we'd go to buy, like one time, me, Mick, Al, and Owen were driving from one show to the next town. Owen hopped in on us because he was super frugal.
Yeah.
Him and Mick would have like cheap offs, see
Yeah.
who could spend $20 in a week,
Yeah.
just limit themselves to $20 in a week. So Owen hopped in with us, and we're like, yeah, after a show, there's really nothing to eat. So we're like, oh, let's hit a drive-through. Like, all right. So we're in line waiting. He's like, oh, great. I'm gonna get a sandwich. I'm gonna have crumbs in my lap. I'm gonna have a tomato on my shirt. You can't eat right in the car. And he's just complaining about how we're gonna like eat while we're traveling. And he's just like, I just have crumbs all over me. It's just like it's like a Larry David kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm type,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're just laughing because he's so deadpan, he's so dry, he would be as matter of factly about it, and you can't help but laugh. So yeah, there's so many great moments with Owen. God love him.
He just sounds like the greatest person.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we're winding down now here, Meanie. 3 more questions before I get to this thing called 5-second frenzy. I want to know who gave you the best advice in the business.
Oh my God. I mean, it would have to be Al. Always bring your gear, because and always show up. Because if I didn't bring my gear and I didn't always show up, God knows where I would have been. So I literally showed up to shows I wasn't even booked on, and got on shows I probably wouldn't have been booked all. And some people get in the business and they think they can sit on their couch and people just come to them and go, "Hey, you want to get booked?" You have to go out and make the bookings, or make the opportunity. So Al put that work ethic in me to not only make opportunities, but you create opportunities and take opportunities, because that's all you got in this business are opportunities you make for yourself, because they're not always going to come to you. You have to go to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a story that Lance Storm once told where he wasn't employed by the company anymore, but he visited a house show, but he had his gear with him. And he said hello to Vince, and Vince said to him, "You know what I would like to see here tonight? Lance Storm versus Eddie Guerrero." And Lance hadn't worked with Eddie before. Lo and behold, half an hour later, Lance is wrestling a match with Eddie Guerrero, and it's because he brought his gear. So I always remember that story.
Well, I was in WWE, and they had a house show in Philly. I wasn't booked for it. I just showed up. I was with the company. I wasn't booked. I showed up. Pat Patterson saw me and said, "Blue Meanie, why are you here?" I was like, "Hey, I live right down the street. I just wanted to come say hi." He goes, "Do you have your gear?" "Yes." "All right, you go out to the ring with Job Squad. You're a manager." So I managed Bob Holly and Too Cold Scorpio against Edge and Christian, who had Gangrel in their corner. So,
and you got a payday.
And then I got a payday. And then for whatever reason, Scorpio got let go by the company. They just plugged me in. And I started tagging with Bob on the house shows.
All right, cool, man.
Because I showed up that day just to make an opportunity.
Good for you, man. That's.
And the house shows where
you're showing initiative.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could change anything about your career, or if you have any regrets, what would you change?
Probably would have went to WCW.
Get a bit of that cheddar.
Get some of that TED money, before they fold it. Who knows if I could have signed a deal where, it was one of those, the company closes and you're getting paid to stay home.
And
Fired.
it keeps
Yeah.
going.
And,
Yeah.
and that could have been another opportunity to go back to WWE. So you always play fantasy booker in your head, but you can't let things get you down. But if I could change anything, I would have went to WCW.
Okay, and before we get to 5 Second Frenzy, which is just like a bunch of questions where we get to know
5 Second
you.
Frenzy sounds like my dating scene in high school.
Don't be too stressed out about it, but
5 Pumps of Fury.
I don't know if you like before COVID or whatever. I don't know if you've still been wrestling. I don't know what the go if you had your last match or not. But if you have not had your last match, what would your ideal scenario be to have your last match?
Well, the crazy thing is, I don't know if I've had my last match, but my last 2 shows I did were for MLW in Philly, which was awesome. And I got a count out victory in the ECW arena for MLW.
Really?
And then in the course of 2 weeks, I worked for MLW and Ring of Honor. And in Ring of
Really?
Honor, I was a surprise in the Ring of Honor Battle Royal.
Oh,
They had
cool.
a live show. They had a live show on their streaming service. They asked me to be a surprise. They had this bunch of guys come in like me, Gangrel, Danhausen, who I love. And I love Gangrel too. I don't want to make that sound bad.
No.
But those were my last 2 shows. After my last 2 matches, because of this whole COVID thing, there's no better way to have gone out than to have a singles victory in my hometown and work for the company I never worked for before. So,
Yeah,
and I got to
man.
do a dance with the Beer City Bruisers and stuff like that in Ring of Honor. But I mean, I guess the ideal last match would be in Philly. I was born here, started my ECW career here, started my WWE career here, had my WrestleMania moment here. The ECW arena has a banner, has a Hardcore Hall of Fame for the building.
Yep.
And amongst all the names up in the rafter, my name's up there. In 2012, they put me in their Hardcore Hall of Fame.
Oh,
So
awesome, man.
if I had my last match in the ECW arena, that would be perfect. But I would never, like a wrestler, you should really never announce retirement, because you never know what the next opportunity brings. So it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah. And they don't really pay me. I don't. I work. I'm more of a. I like to call myself like the mascot, like the San Diego Chicken of wrestling or the Philly Fanatic of wrestling. I'm like the mascot. When they want to bring the serious down and have a little bit of fun, Meanie comes in to have a little fun moment with the crowd and stuff like. So I'm not really killing myself, but I'm adding to shows, and having fun and stuff like that. So I'll never officially retire. I'll just kind of just drift away, still be in
Well,
the background somehow.
I've got an idea. I don't know if Tommy Dreamer is still doing House of Hardcore. I'm not keeping up with things, but if he is, and he's still running ECW Arena or the old ECW Arena, I think, wouldn't it be wonderful to see the Blue Meanie versus Stevie Richards with Raven?
Interesting.
With Raven as a special guest referee.
A lot of people are doing fantasy booking now with the Apocalypse. Somebody just pitched the idea again, Blue Meanie against Orange Cassidy. So, or all these other different things. My friend ran shows in Wisconsin. He wanted to do NWO versus BWO. So there's all these different, fantasy booking things. So, but
that's just me, bro. I would love to see you wrestle Stevie.
It happened once impromptu.
Did
on
it?
A show in Alexandria, Virginia, where the promoter didn't have any money, so everybody just show went to hell once the boys figured out they weren't getting paid.
Oh,
so
shit.
The Headbangers and Axl Rotten got on the mic and did karaoke, singing Adam Sandler's at a medium pace and stuff like that. And it was me and Stevie wrestled the Gangsters, and after that, me and him had like a one-on-one match where we just did Hogan Ultimate Warrior spots. So it's happened, but it was like impromptu and stuff like that. So
right, fair enough. So this is the segment, Meanie. I know we're getting short on time. We've gone over. It's called 5 Second Frenzy, and it's just me asking you simple questions with simple answers. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Doesn't matter if you. I know what wrestlers are like. It takes longer to answer a
I
question.
over-explain everything. That's why my podcast is usually 3 hours long.
It's okay. You weren't as long-winded as Big Sal E. Graziano. He had a lot
I
of
love
long
Sal.
answers. He was one of the best guys we had.
He's
So here
awesome.
it is. 5 Second Frenzy. Blue Meanie, on the spot, your favorite musical artist.
Right now, Foo Fighters.
But you're a fan of Kiss though too.
Oh, I love Kiss, but well, my number one
Nice.
band's Van Halen, but they're not really doing anything right now. But I have
No.
secondary bands like Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters. Anytime the Foo Fighters are in town, I'm there.
Sweet, bro. Your favorite TV show?
Right now, What We Do in the Shadows, which is based off the movie What We Do in the Shadows, which is a fake documentary about vampires in New Zealand. It's like Spinal Tap meets vampires. It's
Wow.
hysterical.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Your favorite film?
Off the top of my head, Anchorman. It's for the ridiculously of it, the absurdity of it, and I watch it every time, and I see something new every time I watch it.
It really is
and
good.
I quote it way too much.
It's like me with Happy Gilmore. Gold jacket,
Yeah.
green jacket, who gives a shit?
If you watch What We Do in the Shadows, you will be quoting that movie too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Your favorite food?
Steak.
Me too, man.
After this, me and Mrs. Meanie are going to run to the supermarket and grill some food. Go in our backyard, have a little barbecue before I do the alternative commentary. I love anything that's barbecued. Anything you could put on a grill. Pretty much.
You'd love being here in Australia, bro.
Dude, I've never been. Here's something you didn't know. I almost moved to Australia as a child.
Really?
My mom had a boyfriend from there, and he had to move back to take care of his mom. Like I left Memphis to go take care of my mom. And my mom came to me and my sister and were like, "What do you think about moving to Australia?" I was like, "Don't like it." I was 7, 8 years old, so I didn't know any better.
The WWF is in there, so
put it this way. My two bucket list places to go to are Japan and Australia because I'd just never been. So
all right, well, if you come to our city, I'm gonna cook you a good Aussie barbecue.
Oh, I dare you. Don't threaten me with a good time.
I want to know what your favorite alcoholic beverage is.
Beer would be our local beer in Pennsylvania called Yingling. It's a lager, which is really good. I always like to support local. If I had to go with hard liquor, there's a whiskey from Ireland called the Quiet Man, which is really good.
Right.
Me and Mrs. Meanie went to England for the Philadelphia Eagles versus Jacksonville Jaguars game, and we hit the duty-free shopping on the way back, and I picked up a bottle of that, and then I found out they sold it in the States. I was like, oh, my God. It's either that or Crown Royal.
Very cool. I like Crown Royal too.
Love it.
2 more. Your favorite female body part?
The eyes, the smile.
We've had that one before.
Huh?
We've had that one before, the eyes and the smile. That's
Good smile, man. Yeah, everything else is subjective. If somebody's an asshole, then look, you can have the most beautiful woman in the world, but her personality could be the shits and makes her ugly. So
absolutely. I know that first and foremost. Bob Holly, I just want to let you know, Bob Holly said ass, and the Godfather said titties. Lastly, Beanie,
both not wrong. Both not wrong.
No, none of them are wrong because women are.
But if you can't put up with my sense of humor, then you're useless.
And last one, Beanie, your favorite curse word?
Cunt. I love when people from the UK or Ireland or Scotland or maybe even Australia, what a fucking cunt. Or they'll look at you, he's a bit of a cunt, eh? Whatchamacallit? What's his name? Grado. He's from Scotland. And he told me, like, in Scotland, cunt is like a compliment.
Absolutely.
And he
It's
was,
the same in Australia.
yeah, and he's standing there and he looks at, he's talking to somebody. He's like, this Kurt Angle, he's a good cunt, eh?
Yeah.
And Kurt Angle went, "What the fuck you call me?" He's like, "No, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. It's a compliment." Cunt or twat?
It's the same in Australia. If you say, "Oh, this guy's a good cunt," but if you go, "Mate," that's an insult. That's an insult.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
like, bro.
Yeah. If you go, "Mate," it's an insult here. But if you go, "Cunt," you're a good cunt.
Like, if in America they go, there's never a good thing that goes with no offense, but whatever you're gonna say is gonna be offensive.
Yeah.
No offense, but I'm sure I'm gonna hate the next words coming out of your fucking mouth.
Oh, Meanie, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight.
It's a blast.
Once we stop recording, I have just two more questions for you. But
sure.
I just want to thank you, and I wanted to say to you, from me to you, huge fan, and I want you to know that you're appreciated in the most isolated city in the world, Perth, Western Australia. Me and my friends used to play you in the video games and all that stuff. And I hope that you're really proud of what you accomplished in your wrestling career, because you did it, man. You were in the big leagues. You were in ECW, in WWF. You should be so proud of what you accomplished in the wrestling business, and we all appreciate you here.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thanks for the kind words. Sometimes when you do what we do in the business, you're looking forward straight ahead. Sometimes you don't get a lot of time to reflect. And then you get the haters out there too, who the faceless, nameless people who hide behind obscurity and fake names or whatever online, and they talk shit. And it's usually probably another wrestler who wouldn't say that to your face, but when I get compliments like that, that means, more to me, because, I know you're a genuine fan and you got into the business as well. You've done it, you know what it's like. Yeah. So that means a lot, and I appreciate that. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly, because I wasn't supposed to make it, and I got I got an opportunity. Somebody said I was like the Forrest Gump of wrestling, or the Rudy of wrestling, where I got to be in a couple cool, I got to do a couple cool things during one of the hottest times in pro wrestling, which I got to be in ECW during their hottest period, and I got to be in WWE during the Attitude Era. I wasn't like a big player, but I was there.
A lot of others did. So, I mean, you were there, man. You were fucking there. And I'll tell you this about fucking people online. I just had an argument last night with some stranger because they said Glacier was a useless talent. And I'm like, fuck you. How fucking dare you? Like, that's a man with a family. That's a guy that worked his ass off. He did not do anything wrong. He didn't botch.
He's one of the best human beings you will ever. Glacier is one of the best human beings you'll ever meet.
Absolutely. And I got so mad at him saying that. And I'm like, fuck you. You don't know that guy. He worked his ass off. I saw him do it the best he could every single week on television. How dare you? And we went back and forth, like the time zones. So the argument is very few and far between. But I was
10 hours later. Yeah, well, fuck you, man. 10 hours later.
Yeah. I was like, just how dare you? But anyway, thank you very much, Meanie. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Pleasure's all mine. And, thanks for the support.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was the 55 live podcast in conjunction with the WZWA Network. I'm Karlifornia with my new best friend, the Blue Meanie, and we will see you next time. Thank you.